What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, the best place for new coaches, content creators, and entrepreneurs. In today's video, let's talk about Instagram captions, specifically Instagram captions that can get you results like this and results like this. Now, obviously, when it comes to getting crazy engagement and crazy sales, there is more than just captions that you write on social media, but your Instagram captions can play a really great role in getting more engagement and getting more sales in your business. That's why in today's video, I'm gonna share with you some things to consider and some things to look out for when you're writing your captions that'll get you more likes, comments, and sales into your business. Now, before we dive into today's video, we always start off with shout outs, so let's dive right into those first. Massive congratulations to this week's YouTube channel and Instagram profile of the week. Thank you for supporting this channel. Now, if you're interested in being featured too, all you have to do is take a picture of this video and post it to your Instagram stories. Just don't forget to tag me, or you can leave a comment in today's video. Anyways, guys, let's get right back into the video. All right, welcome back. Now, when it comes to writing engaging captions that'll get you more likes, comments, and potentially sales, the first thing that you want to do is take a step back and actually understand who your audience is. Know your audience really well inside and out. And this may take some time, may take some trial and error, and it may take some conversations with your followers. But what you need to know is when you're creating content, when you're writing captions, really understand who you're trying to speak to. For instance, in my business, I know that the audience that follows me is typically someone who's just starting out in their business, if they even have a business. They're really in those early stages. They don't like working at a corporate job, and they're starting to slowly realize that, and they want to start a business online. And they also want to tap into social media, and specifically, they're interested in Instagram and YouTube. And because I know all of these things, I'm not gonna write captions that cater to more of an advanced audience. I'm not gonna write captions that don't speak to social media and talk about brick and mortar solutions. I don't do that. And that's all because I know my audience inside and out. And how did I get to this level? Well, obviously it takes a lot of surveying. And what I recommend is periodically hop on your Instagram stories and actually ask what your audience wants to know from you, what their goals are when it comes to X, when it comes to their fitness, when it comes to their business, when it comes to their career. Whatever industry you're in, really ask your audience these crucial questions. What are their struggles? What are their pain points? These are things that you really want to know because it helps you with your content creation. It helps with your caption writing. And what I recommend actually is to create an ideal audience or ideal client profile like you're seeing right here on my screen. I personally refer to this a lot. This is where I paint the picture of who my ideal audience is, and I always refer back to it if I ever feel like I might be forgetting what my audience truly wants from me. So I highly recommend just creating a separate Google Doc and just writing down the following things. Who is my ideal client or audience? What are their pain points? What are their goals? And what's stopping them from hitting those goals? What are their interests? What do they want, right? And again, it takes a lot of research in order for you to build this out. But what's important is that you get started today when it comes to collecting the necessary data on your audience. Now, moving on to the second component that you need to consider when you're writing Instagram captions, specifically when you want people to actually read your captions, is to make sure that you have an engaging hook. And what you want to know is the first 125 characters matters a lot. After 125 characters on Instagram, it'll actually cut it off and the person will have to click more. And so your goal is to make sure you get as many people clicking more so that they'll read the entire piece of content. Because if they don't, what was the point of you posting it? That's why you want to make sure that the first 125 characters is something that will really be attention grabbing. And some examples that I have for you is maybe it could be a polarizing statement. For example, maybe for me, I'll write a caption and the first line is say, why everyone else's content sucks. You might want to click that because it's a little bit polarizing. Or you might want to kick it off by asking a question that you know your audience has that they would want to answer. So for example, mine might say something like, do you want to know how to write engaging Instagram captions that get you more likes, comments, and sales? Now, obviously that might be a little bit longer than 125 characters, but you get the idea. It's a question that I know you guys have, and therefore there's a higher chance that you guys will actually click on it so that you'll read more of what I have to say. That's why it's very, very important that you have the first hook in mind and that you make it as attention grabbing as possible, and that it'll actually cause someone to not just stop the scroll, but also click more. In fact, to add on to what I'm saying and to show you proof of why having an engaging header really really works is let me go through some of my top posts of the year in terms of likes. And you'll notice that a lot of them have super engaging hooks that make people want to read more. For example, this one right here says, yesterday, someone said they're unsubscribing from my channel, ... A lot of people are going to want to read more and understand why they said that. Now, here's another one. This one says, how I'm on 8 content platforms, but don't burn out. Now, for a lot of people in my audience, I know they're content creators or they're aspiring content creators. And I know that by me saying this, it's already going to get them curious as to how don't you burn out? And so that's why this is really effective. Let's look at another one. This one right here says, why copying me won't work, ... And so as you can see from the examples that I showed you, and these are the examples from my top posts that have the most likes on my account, you'll see that a lot of them have cliffhanger moments that cause people to be very curious to want to learn more. And that's exactly what you want to integrate into your own captions, whether that is a polarizing statement or it's a question that will pique someone's curiosity. Now, moving on to the next component that can really help you strengthen your Instagram caption writing strategies is to have killer content and killer copywriting. So let's talk about these two things. Killer content means having content that actually speaks to your ideal audience. And this is what we talked about in the first tip. Now, there are a lot of tools out there that can help you really understand what type of content that's going to do well. And I've got not just this video right here that outlines some content ideas that I have for you, but I've also got this video that also walks you through different strategies on how you can do content research. Now, since these two videos do a very good job in deep diving on that topic, I'll let you click on these two videos and find them for yourself so that you can really learn how to not just create good content, but also research content so that you have ideas all the time. Now, the next thing that you want to make sure you have is good copywriting. Now, this is a skill that is so essential for entrepreneurs to master, is being good at communicating with text. A lot of things that you see on the internet, yes, there's video, yes, there's all of that, but having really great copywriting skills can get you super far when it comes to your sales pages, your website, your Facebook ads, your Instagram captions. And so I really want to spend some time to share with you my top 3 favorite copywriting persuasion tactics that I use a lot in my own business. Now, the first copywriting persuasion technique that I like to use is called future pacing. And what future pacing means is when you're writing your captions, you're really painting that point B for your audience. And what I mean by point B is for everyone in the world, there's always a point A and a point B. Point A is where they are and point B is where they want to be. And so when you're incorporating future pacing in your caption writing, what you're essentially doing is you're really helping your audience paint the vision, really highlight what their life could look like if they had your service, if they had your product, if they tried your makeup look. Whatever it is that you sell or that you do in your business, future pacing is a very effective copywriting tactic. Now, I know for a lot of you guys might be like, what does that even mean? So let me show you an example of how I future paced in one of my captions. So this piece of content right here is basically me explaining to my audience what they really need to focus on when they want to grow their Instagram account or when they actually want to get more sales in their business. And I started my hook by saying, what does a business look like when you're positioning and promoting your offer successfully? 3 things happen. You're getting calls booked, you're getting inquiries, you're getting prospects that sign on the spot. And so what I'm doing is I'm future pacing. I'm letting my audience understand and see what their business could look like if they just made this one shift, if they just made this one change, if they had my support or whatnot. And so that's why it's very important in your copywriting to really experiment with future pacing, because that's what people want to learn. That's what people want to see, is what their life could be like if they integrated your tips, your strategies, and your services. So even in this video, I did a little bit of future pacing as well. I said, these are the things that you can do to get more sales, more likes, and more engagement for your business. Imagine if you implemented these tips, how much more engagement, how much more sales could you get? Now that is a persuasive technique. And so that's why integrating into your captions can get you more engagement, but more importantly, can get you way more DM conversations happening of people inquiring about your services, of people asking you for help. So future pacing is one of my #1 favorite copywriting techniques that I use, not just in my captions, but also in my videos. Now, speaking of video, before I move on to the other 2 copywriting techniques that I like to use in my Instagram caption writing, I want to let you know that I'm actually giving away 1 full free lesson that I teach in the Bossgram Academy for free. So if you actually click the link in my description box, or if you click the link in the pinned comment section, I'm gonna share with you a full video lesson that I've taken from my paid program, the Bossgram Academy, that dives deeper on caption writing. As you can see from this screen flow, it's super jam-packed, and it covers a lot more than this video can. So I do wanna make sure that you check that out, because it's gonna be super valuable for you to understand the in-depth strategies on how to create captions that truly convert and get you more sales in your business. So definitely make sure you download that, because it's gonna cover way more than this video is covering so far. Not only this, by downloading it, you also get a taste of what I teach in my paid programs and how much more in depth I go versus my YouTube videos, which is my free content. So definitely check it out. Click the link in my description box, or click the link in my comment section to snag this free video lesson that's about 30 minutes long for you to learn about Instagram caption writing way more in depth than what you are learning right now. Anyways, moving on to the second copywriting technique that I like to use for my captions in order to get more engagement and also get more sales into my business is scarcity. And what scarcity means is you're essentially writing copy that makes people feel like they're missing something, and it creates that sense of urgency for them to want to find the answer, or for them to want to contact you or take some sort of action. And so let me show you an example of me creating some scarcity in my copywriting. Now, in this post, I'm talking about the 5 worst Instagram advice that I've ever come across. And in the caption, I'm actually calling out some things that I know my audience is doing wrong. For example, if your content doesn't inspire, entertain, solve problems, if your personal brand doesn't engage, listen, or involve, if you as a business owner do not tell people where to go in terms of your content, then you're not gonna get any sales. You're not gonna find success. And so that, in a sense, creates a sense of scarcity. People are reading that and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm making those mistakes. I feel like I don't have the strategies in order to actually get that engagement, in order to get those sales, and therefore I might want to comment and ask for help. I might want to double tap or save this post for the future, or I might want to contact Vanessa and ask her for help. And so that's how you can create a sense of scarcity, because what I'm doing in this caption is I'm clearly talking about the things that I know my audience doesn't have right now, and because they don't have it, therefore it's gonna be very hard for them to succeed when it comes to their Instagram marketing strategy. And so as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm building that urgency. And that's why creating scarcity can actually drive up the urgency for your audience to take action. Now, moving on to the third copywriting persuasive technique that I like to use when I write my Instagram captions is risk aversion. And what risk aversion essentially means is you would be writing captions that allow your audience to understand how much more pain they would be in if they didn't take a certain action, or if they chose to stay the same. And again, very similar to scarcity, it allows them to create that sense of urgency to take action. And this is what Tony Robbins says that I really like, is that most people, they would rather avoid pain than they are to seek pleasure. And that's why when you're writing your copy, really dive into those pain points that your audience is struggling with in order to evoke an emotional reaction within them. So an example of me incorporating a little bit of risk aversion is in this post right here, where I highlight all the things that I think my audience is doing that's actually slowing them down. And by me emphasizing the fact that these are things that are just gonna slow you down, that are just gonna keep you stuck, it's going to create a sense of urgency, because a lot of people, they want to avoid that. They don't wanna be slowed down. They don't wanna see no results. And so in the copy, I'm really highlighting this. I'm saying knowledge is power, but without action, it's useless. More is not better, and filling your time doing things that take away from your actual execution is only slowing you down. And so as you can see, I know my audience wants to avoid the risk of being slowed down in business. And so me emphasizing that allows me, again, to create way more urgency for them to want to take action. Now, again, I basically breeze through a lot of these things. That's why I highly encourage you to download my free lesson in the comment section or in the description box below. It'll walk you step by step and dissect the anatomy of my captions. And again, these are the things that I teach in my paid program. It's literally an entire lesson that I took from Bossgram Academy, and I'm giving it to you for free. So definitely make sure you download that so that you can get the deep dive of caption writing and my caption writing strategy that has helped me get way more clients in my business. Anyways, moving on to the next tip. Now, I walked you through some of the tactics when it comes to caption writing, but you might be wondering, okay, a lot of these things you're saying is to help someone build urgency to take action, but what action should I ask them to do? And that's why you want to make sure in your captions you have a good call to action. And specifically, there are two types of call to actions that exist, and I made this up because it's something that I started to incorporate in my business and it's worked really well for me, and it's the exact same things that I'm teaching my students. So again, make sure you download this lesson because I go way more in depth in it. But the first caption that you want to have in your caption is your primary caption. And your primary caption is essentially the caption that you see a lot of people doing. It's tag me or comment below or double tap if you like this. It's really the type of call to action that's going to encourage someone to actually help you boost engagement on your post. It's that short-term vanity boost that you really want. Versus your secondary call to action is the action that you really want your audience to take when it comes to your business, when it comes to getting leads into your pool. And so if you look here in my captions, I always have two call to actions. My primary call to action is always going to be double tap or comment below or like this photo. Versus my secondary caption is always going to encourage someone to download my lead magnets or watch my free training so that I can grow my email list and get more leads into my client pool. So as you can see, this is really, really effective, and it's something that I made up because I noticed that by doing this, it has allowed me to get way more engagement in the short term, but also get me a lot of traffic to my business in the long term as well. And again, if you want to learn more about that, make sure you download my free lesson in the comment section below. Now, at this point in the video, you've learned a couple of techniques that I use to create highly engaging captions. But what matters is how you put it all together. And that's why I want to talk to you guys about structure. Specifically, you have to understand that you want to make sure your captions are readable and breathable. And what that means is you don't want a mumbo jumbo of words like this. You want to have clean line breaks. And I highly recommend using this website called Apps for Life in order to create those line breaks, or use this app right here to create them natively on your phone. But having line breaks is essential. Another thing that you want to keep in mind of is the length of your caption. Back in the day, it was really cool to have really long form captions, but the reality is that a lot of people kind of skim through that, especially if it's way too long. And something that has worked really well for me is something that basically the name I coined, but it's called the photo bait method. And the photo bait method is something that I also teach in my program, the Boss Gram Academy. And basically what that means is you want to bait your audience with a photo of yourself or a photo that's a little bit more visually pleasing, kind of like this. And then you want to have your captions within the carousel. And this allows your audience to be able to read the caption a lot better. And whenever I do this, I always get amazing engagement like this and like this, using my photo bait method. It never seems to fail. And what I found is when I break down my captions in this sense, I get way more engagement. I get way more people actually consuming what I'm trying to tell them in the caption versus just liking and sending me comments that have nothing to do with my content. For example, cute, adorable, oh my God, amazing. No, you really want to create conversations that are of high quality. And in order to get high quality conversations happening in your comment section, people need to actually read your content. And that's why when you break up your captions like this and you put it within the carousel, it's way more effective. Anyways, guys, in this video, I literally gave you a full overview of some concepts that you need to consider when it comes to writing engaging captions that'll get you more sales, more likes, and more comments for your business. Again, don't forget to download the free lesson that I've attached in the description box and in the comment section below. It's essentially a full lesson that I teach in my program, the Boss Gram Academy, that does a way deeper dive on my caption writing strategies, not to mention the fact that it is a very juicy training, as you can see from the screen flow right here. So definitely check that out. Anyways, guys, while you wait for next week's video, make sure you also check out these two videos that I have right here as well. I talk a lot about social media, Instagram, coaching, entrepreneurship, and all the likes of that. So do make sure you check out these two videos as well. Anyways, bosses, I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great day, a great week, and a great life, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.